What's up, Royals? I'm yours truly, King Chris. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone's doing good. All right, so the conversation has it. We're going to jump right into this conversation. But I'll go ahead and tell you, you might as well subscribe, like, share, thumbs up, ring the bell so that you can keep up to date to all of my videos, right? Go ahead. Just jump right into it. So today was the preliminary hearing of the Arbery case. We know the defendants is Travis, George, and Brian. They're responsible for the lynching and the unlawful killing of Mr. Arbery. There were some facts that came out that we did not know about, and there were some things that we did know about. My question to you, so the preliminary hearing, it is to decide whether it is enough evidence to take the case to court or to a grand jury. So after I tell you the facts and the details, I want you to drop down low into your comments and I want you to tell me, do you think that we can get a conviction on all three, or maybe two of the three, or maybe one of the three? And what do you think they will be charged with at the end? What will a jury convict them with? Okay, so I'm going to tell you that Travis' defense is self-defense. We found that out. George's defense is that he had nothing to do with the killing. And Brian's defense is he was a witness. He felt that by him video recording it, that it would help Arbery get some type of justice. And we know that he never called 911. We do know that, right? That's a fact. So, we also found out that the first 911 call was from a neighbor. It was the neighbor that lived near the construction site, called 911 on February the 23rd, 2020, and told 911 that he seen someone suspicious in the construction site. The neighbor did what a neighbor should do. Call 911, let the law enforcement handle it, right? Correct. And we also found out that there was some wood taken from there by kids. So some wood was taken from the property by kids. So that could be considered as theft. That could be considered as burglary, right? And we know that that was trespassing. But these three little kids was not lynched down. They was not chased. They're still breathing. They're still living, right? And we also know that there was a couple and some other people that went into the property, and we know that the couple was was not black or brown skin, right? And they was not lynched and they was not chased, but Arbery was. And so we're going to start with Brian, the video recorder. So he says that he's just a witness. So we found out today that Brian was he was involved with the killing of Arbery. He was charged with false imprisonment, felony murder, and aggravated assault. Let's talk about these charges. Let's jump right into it. So we found out that in this chase, so let's talk about the chase, right? Which we seen the video. So we know that he was blocking Arbery in. Arbery could not get away. That was the false imprisonment. So we learned that George was on the porch. He heard or he saw Arbery. He ran in the house and he told his son, "Let's gun up." So the son grabbed his gun. George grabbed his gun. They got in their pickup truck and they pursued Arbery. As Arbery was running, Brian was coming into the neighborhood. Brian saw Arbery and he saw George and Travis. So he proceeded to help. He blocked Arbery in with his truck. Arbery could not get away. Travis and George obviously was trying to have some type of conversation with Arbery, but Arbery was running, right? And so we found out that Brian vehicle, actually, he took his vehicle, the assault charges is he took his vehicle and he hit Arbery. There was fabrics from Arbery's clothes found on the bumper of Mr. Bryant's truck. So we know that he was not a witness. We know that. We know that he hit Arbery. That was the assault charges. And we also know that there are about 4 minutes of video footage that we did not see. So I'm assuming that we did not see that. That is because he was hitting Arbery with his truck at that time, right? That's what I'm assuming. So the son says that when he saw Arbery, within the first 30 minutes of him seeing Arbery, he knew that Arbery would not surrender. Okay. We found out that the son was in the Coast Guards and he was some type of boarding coordinator or boarding something, which means that if they were on the water and a crime or something was to happen, he would be the one that pretty much construct everything of how to take care of the crisis on the water. So he said within the first 30 minutes of him seeing Arbery, he knew that Arbery was not going to surrender. Okay, that Arbery was not going to surrender. So he gave Arbery instructions, like he was some type of law enforcement. He gave Arbery instructions to get down on the ground and put his hands up or his hands behind his back. That's what he said. So we know that he was in the Coast Guards, he was in the reserve. So we know that he was nothing but a race soul that was making a little bit of money on the side, and that he was probably living off his mom and dad's retirement, and he thought that he was privileged, and he thought that he had some type of authority, which he did not. So he say so that he knew that Arbery would not surrender. So he told Arbery to get down on the ground. And so his self-defense claim is when he saw Arbery when they was approaching a man that was jogging in the neighborhood, and Arbery was known to be jogging in the neighborhood. A lot of the neighbors knew him. They stopped and they had conversations with Arbery. And also what's very significant is that the house that Arbery, the construction site that Arbery went in, there also was a water site there where they put water out there for the runners and the walkers in the neighborhood to get. So Arbery could have been getting some water as well. So they're saying, so his Travis defense is self-defense. He's saying that when he's seen Arbery, he's seen something in Arbery's hand or in Arbery's pocket that he thought that could be a gun or a hammer. Okay? And come to find out it was a stick. And I mean, he was jogging. So, I mean, he had a stick in his hand. So what? I mean, we all run, walk, or jog, and sometimes we pick up a stick for dogs. And so he said that it was a hammer. The investigators said that they looked into it, but they found nothing significant of it. They didn't even take the stick into evidence or anything like that. It was just a stick. So, like I said, he admitted to shooting Arbery 3 times. So George says that they're saying that George and Arbery got into a struggle, and saying that Arbery struck him, right? But when EMS was called to the scene, they seen no marks on Travis or George from a strike from Arbery. Arbery probably did tussle with them because he was trying to get away from them, which we would all do if someone is attacking us, right? And so Arbery was running towards Brian's vehicle. Okay, so this is the false imprisonment. He was running towards Brian's vehicle, and guess what? Brian admits to blocking Arbery. He tells the investigators that yes, he did block Arbery in, and yes, he was trying to block Arbery in. And he's trying to say that he did not know that the Michaels was going to, that Greg and Travis was going to kill Arbery, but Travis was into the front seat of the vehicle. George was driving the vehicle. Travis was out the window with a gun in his hand, right? And come to find out that George, as I said in my previous video, that George thought that he was still illegally investigating, because that's what he did. So George went in the house, and guess what he grabbed? He grabbed his gun that he had when he was an investigator for the DA's office. He grabbed his gun. That's the gun that he grabbed. The gun that he probably should have turned in when he retired. The gun that he should have turned in when they put him on desk duty, because he went 8 years without taking the certification test to have his credentials to do the job that he's supposed to have been doing. So he thought that he was doing what he always do. He was investigating illegally. And so he thought that by him calling to Arbery, that Arbery should stop and have a conversation with him, which Arbery was not entitled, because you're not law enforcement and you never was for 8 years, right? You raised soldier. See, they think they're privileged. So he took his gun with him, and his son had his gun. Like I said, the son did admit to shooting Arbery. And guess what? In the video surveillance, which had no audio, so we didn't hear the audio, but after Travis shot Arbery 3 times, he called him that fucking nigger. So he used the race word, and he was really familiar with the N word, because there's video footage of him, or there was, I think in his phone or something, there was where when he was at work for the Coast Guards, he was saying how much he loved his job because there was no niggers around. And also, he made a statement on Facebook that it would be, he made a comment on Facebook that it would be good to blow that, it would have been good to blow that nigger head off, right? So we know that he was racist, right? Which we already knew that. So he made those racist comments. And Brian said that he wasn't racist. There was some text messages in Brian's phone of him saying some racist comments too. He was on vacations or something like that, and he made a comment. I think it was at the airport, and he made a comment. It feels so good not to have no effing niggers around. And also, what was so significant about Brian's too, because Brian's and his wife swear that they was not racist. That the investigator said that he had heard some racist terminology. He had saw some racist terminology in Brian's phone that he never ever heard of before. He was like, wow, he was surprised to hear that type of language in his phone, considering that he's saying that he wasn't a racist. He said that some of the racist terminology that was in that race soldiers, that pink pig, coward phone, was just like, it was so ungraceful that he never even heard of some of the terminology that he used in his phone. So that was really significant, that he did have race terminology in his phone, and that with his car, he hit Arbery because they found the fabrics on his bumper. That was really significant. So that is the false imprisonment when he blocked Arbery in, because Arbery was running towards his vehicle. Remember when he saw Travis and George coming out to Arbery, because what Arbery was doing was trying to get out of the neighborhood. So he blocked Arbery in, and he admitted to that. And then he hit Arbery, so that is the aggravated assault charges. And the felony murder charges is because you blocked him in, and then you hit him, and then it was the death of him by Travis. And George gets charged with felony murder because George was the one that told his son, get your gun and let's go get him. So now we see how everything is connected together, and that's why where we at, and the evidence have enough evidence to convict them on those charges. And the significant thing is that, like I said, that George, he was an investigator. He told that officer on the body cam that he told his son not to shoot. But the very interesting thing is that in his interrogation, he never mentioned to them that he told his son not to shoot. See, he's an investigator, so he's trying to cover his tracks. And also, he told in a phone conversation that he had said that Brian, that he gave him so much high regards and so much respect, that he was one of the good old boys, that he was a ally to them lynching and the killing of Arbery. Yeah, he was an ally to it. So like I say, if you give these race soldiers, these fools, these racist-hearted people time enough, they will always tell on their self. They will always tell on their self. So there you have it right there. You have their defense of what they're trying to say, and you have the facts of the case. We heard racial slurs. He called Arbery an F-ING nigger right after he shot him. And we know that Brian hit Arbery with his truck when he was blocking him in on false imprisonment charges, right? And we know that George is the culprit because he told his son, get the guns, let's go get him. And we know that he thought that he was an investigator, that he was for 8 years with no credentials. He thought that he was still on the job because he grabbed his gun that he had when he was on duty to go after Arbery. So there you have it. So tell me, what do you think? Do you think that we can get a conviction of these racist soldiers, lynchers? Thank you guys so much for joining me. Please drop down low in the comments. Royals, until we meet again, remember, stay up, never down. May God bless.